And we are back. Today we're going to be going over the data spreadsheet where the information from the forms in the previous video, where it goes and how to read it. If you haven't seen the previous video or don't know what the form is, there'll be a card popping up soon already that you can go check out that video first and then come back to this one. When you put your data in, it's all going to be put into the spreadsheet, and here's where to go to look for it. So I'm going to go over kind of all the key tabs and what we can learn from this spreadsheet. The first thing is going to be the responses. This is just the raw data where your form is going to come. If you make a mistake or anything, just let someone in the Discord know. Once again, link to that Discord in the description. Great community there. Highly recommend joining. Yes, you can just let one of us know. We'll come and fix it. Anyway, you don't have to worry too much about this. The first kind of main page is going to be our weighted data trends here, and here we can see all the cards that have been played, and then kind of a number here. They're going to be ordered by highest win rate, which is going to be greener numbers all the way down to lowest, and it's going to be percentage. So it's going to be kind of what are the increase to our win rate based on having these cards in our opening hand. So we can see just on a first look, cards like Ensnaring Bridge, Assassin's Trophy, Pithing Needle, Mishra's Bauble, Urza's Saga, then you got Lantern and Shredder doing quite well, whereas cards like Ancient Stirrings, Inquisition, and Academy Ruins are kind of a bit lower. So just look here, and then as we move across, there are different columns kind of representing different things. You have like your diminishing returns. This is going to be if you have two in your hand, kind of how it gets impacted. So you can see Stirrings actually a bit nicer with two. It isn't as much data for having two in the hand, so it's not probably quite as strong, but there are a lot of games with just one. So this column is kind of the key one from this page. Moving along toward additional data points, you're going to see things like lands in opener, kind of how many lands, winning percentage. Obviously, having 2 or 3, 2 is kind of ideal for the deck. Randomly 5, but this is just small sample size, so this is just going to be game wins and losses when you have number of lands in opener. This hand is going to look at specifically when you have Lantern plus a Mill Rock in your opener, which we can see it is doing better. This is set up for Scheming Symmetry plus Shredder in an opening hand. Not too many of us are on Scheming Symmetry, but if you are, that data will show up here. We got Bauble plus Mill Rock. So again, this is looking at in your opening hand, do you have Bauble plus a Mill Rock, and if so, what's your win rate? And we can see that it actually leads to a much higher win rate. You know, it's data like this where we can look at and kind of be able to make changes to the deck based on the data. So seeing how strong Bauble is in the opening hand can lead to, it's all about improving mulliganing and deck building decisions based on kind of actual data instead of just how it feels. Again, these are just some more card combinations. And then here's going to talk about mulligan win rates. So you can see the difference between 7 and 6 is actually like pretty small. Definitely with like pretty much within the 95% confidence limit. So don't be afraid to mulligan down to 6 is kind of what we take away from this. Obviously 5 and 4 it drops off, but you know, from 7 to 6 isn't a huge decrease. And then again, like if we saw 6 was almost identical, like we'd be saying mulligan very aggressively. So I think this is just kind of incorporating this data into our games. This is going to sideboard cards. Each card is kind of labeled as whether it's sideboard or main deck. It's just post-board games, and we can see having 2 sideboard cards is great. 3 often is going to be a bit too much. Then 1 or 0 going to be a bit less, but just the importance of having those. We're going to look at just average CMC. We have play draw here. Interestingly enough, draw, we actually have a slightly higher win rate, which we haven't quite figured out a reason for. If you have any thoughts of why Lantern might win more on the draw, let me know down below. Would love to hear them. And then this table is just kind of the number of discard spells and the win rate. Here's just another way of looking at the data. So kind of laid out and total percentages of the likelihood. If you have 1 in your hand, the likelihood that having 1 is better than having 0. So you can see for bridge, having 1 is like 100% better than having 0, and then Academy Ruins, not super likely that 1 is better than 0. Just a different way. It's the same as this stuff here. It's just a different kind of way of laying it out. If we go to matchup statistics here, this is going to break down in the form where you put in what matchup. That's going to kind of show up here. You can see some matchups like Scam, 75% win rate against Scam across different matchups, and as this gets filled out, definitely get more matchups and more matches in a lot of matches, more games in a lot of matches. So here, just your responses. If you mess up, let us know. We'll fix it. Here you can actually go to matchup weighted trends, where instead of looking at cards for everything, it's only going to look at games from a specific matchup. So we have Scam pulled up here. You can see Blooming Marsh, Bridge, Urza Saga tend to be performing well, and Lantern Shredder, Bauble, Leyline are not doing, not terribly, but not kind of as good as some of these cards up here. Again, this is going to be kind of more smaller sample size, but you can look at just specific matchups. Most of the stuff here is just for like back end, how the sheet works. Another one is pilot statistics, where as you put in your own data, you can see your name here and then your win rate, and that's pretty much it. So the key thing is kind of here, how much more likely the increase to your win rate by starting with these cards in your opening hands. Trying to keep this as a short video, so hopefully this kind of hits the key points of the form. Cards at the bottom are worse than cards at the top. That's the simple way of putting it. So hopefully this can help you kind of make better decisions about what cards you're putting in your decks and when you're mulliganing. So hopefully this was helpful, and look forward to getting lots of people submitting their data.